Good away from world, it's your boy 5 Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. I'm in here with my co-host, the OG of the show, man, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know. He's broadcasting live from the Black Hole today. What's good, Spread? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm excited to talk to you about some of this football. I did a lot of arguing the last few days on my show, so we'll see where we land on some of our reactions to what we saw this weekend.
Uh-oh, bunch of arguing. Must be your quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's it. I got to protect my guys.
Oh, man, you invested in some real nice guys, but not that good of quarterbacks. Man, we're getting to the end of the season now. Things slowing down, man. It's time to go on and keep it moving. We're at the end of the road. Last college football game is Monday, which is my wife's birthday as well. So it's going to be a really exciting Monday for me. And then also we're down to the last 8 teams left in pro football. On the AFC side, it's the same 4 teams as last year. My Houston Texans, they're not recognized, but back-to-back division playoff burst is pretty good for a young team in the second year of a rebuild.
I'm excited to talk about Houston, but why don't we start with the past and what we saw in the college football world. Ohio State took on Texas. I thought Texas was going to cover, man. The play calling in that with that last red zone was pretty bad. Yeah, I think Sark's got to take some blame there, man. Those were not smart play calls. But in the end, I mean, Ohio State was going to win. It really came down to the cover. Ohio State was the much better team. But as someone who thought that Texas was going to keep it closer, I was a little disappointed with what I saw. What did you see in that game between Ohio State and Texas?
I don't really think that Ohio State was the much better team. I think that Ohio State was better prepared to play this last game and the Texas. I think Sark got tight on that possession. First of all, the biggest mistake of the game that kind of set things all the way left was them giving up that ridiculous touchdown to Travion Henderson on a screen. Anyone knows with 13 seconds left, the only thing that a team can run from their own 20 is a screen or draw. So for you, Texas, to sit back there and allow them to execute that, and not only that, don't tackle. It was looking like freaking doggone Three Stooges. People just flying everywhere. Like it was just so weird that they let that guy break that touchdown. But that's what changed everything for me because it ruined our first half cover. We had the first half money line, which would have pushed. That was huge, not only in the wagering aspect of this game, but most of all, in just during the game, the mindset of Texas, you're coming off of scoring right before the half. Now you finally pull this game together. It's tight after Ohio State had a really impressive drive at the beginning of the game. Texas defense started playing like we had seen it play all year. I said all year, I felt like Texas had the most talent on defense in the country, and I think Ohio State was the best defense because it was the better coached defense. But I think that Texas had the most playmakers. And man, you tie the game up at 7-7 going in the half. That's just all on Sark, man, because of the type of guy he is. With him being a kind of laid-back dude, he doesn't always go over the details, man. He comes from being a BYU quarterback, so he kind of gets a little too finesse at times, just too smart for his own good at times. An excellent play that he ran when I think that Arch Manning got injured, so that's why they said Arch Manning didn't come in when they needed those 4 downs close down by the goal line that could have tied the game up. He's their short yardage quarterback, much more physical, much more athletic than Quinn Ewers. And he had a really sharp play that he ran earlier in the game where he had Arch come under center. They snapped it between Arch's legs and straight to the running back on the sweep and got the first down. Just a really innovative play. I wish he would have damn near went back to that. If Arch can't run, at least use him as a decoy, But you got to go forward on plays like that, man. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on some more games where coaches are making these horrible decisions. Coaches, it's not rocket science. You guys are looking at these Waffle House menus and you're forgetting. Maybe you need to put a section on your play chart that says gotta have it or less than a yard, big play, short downs because they get lost in the sauce and their minds are everywhere. And that's kind of what happened to Sark, bro. You need 2 yards to tie this up and have a chance to win a national championship. And we saw exactly like I expected. Will Howard was not as good as he usually was. That Texas defensive backfield is really good, and they did a great job shutting down Jeremiah Smith. He only had 3 targets, man, for 3 yards. They completely shut him down. So everything that Texas did, they should have won the game by their game plan and the way that they played. The problem was they don't do the small stuff, and Texas has been like that for so long because Shark's one of those guys that clean the room, but when he cleans it, he doesn't check in the corner and under the bed. So he leaves a bunch of dust, a bunch of little stuff. And you have to be a guy that's going under the bed, getting that little dirt and getting in the corners and going above the window sill and getting that little dirt to really have a clean house, man. And that's the problem. He got to get more into the details, man, and better about that because they gave that game away. Texas could have easily won that game.
All right. Next game on the docket that we saw. Oh wait, no, that's all we had because we already talked about the other ones. Let's go to the
NFL.
Yeah, let's go straight to the NFL. I forgot that we had already reviewed the Notre Dame win.
Yeah, we did
in the
that
National Football League. And I think this is where we're going to have some fun here. Very first game that we saw was the Houston Texans. They were short underdogs. And they came through with a 32-12. Let me confirm.
Yeah, 32-12.
32-12. And they had a dominating win. Let me hear your takeaways first, and then I'll give you mine.
Well, my first takeaway is, do you still think I'm hard on Justin Herbert?
Yes, I do.
RG3 was just on the Dan Patrick show and made an excellent point about Justin Herbert. He said Justin Herbert is an outstanding talent, has all types of records for a young quarterback in the league, but this is the problem. How many coaches are we going to blame for his lack of getting it done? Now they're saying it's Greg Roman's fault. Before that, it was Brandon Staley's fault. Before that, it was what's my guy's name? Running back
Anthony
coach.
Lynn.
Anthony Lynn's fault. It's always somebody's fault that Justin Herbert decides to drop back, and DeMeco Ryans knows he doesn't read defenses well and can sham him into a pick six and knew that it was about to happen before he even threw it. I have the video because a guy similar to you with his love for Justin Herbert on X decided to at me and say, he had a better game. Look at the PFF. The PFF is showing everything. Guys, that's me getting a text message. I heard some guys saying that they thought that my fire alarm was the battery was out on my fire alarm. It's not. It's my phone. I gotta put it on silent. I'm always getting texts, so you guys forgive me for that. But the guy on X was saying to me that Justin Herbert had a better game. Look at the PFF. PFF with this bull ass model has created a model that says that Justin Herbert played a better game than CJ Stroud did. And that's where I get into this. I can't stand how nerds have taken stuff that they know. People, who is going to tell them that their data is wrong or what they study? Because they're going and doing stuff that we don't know. They're running numbers and I like, but I know I can trust my eyes, and I've always been like that, and I've always been able to evaluate talent with my eyes. I can see what type of player Jaden Daniels was because I know what he did at Arizona State when the going got tough, when it was third downs, when it was hard to make plays, when it was time for him to rally his team. I saw that with my eyes. Data didn't show that. That's why a lot of the nerds said Jaden Daniels wouldn't be a good quarterback. I saw that Josh Allen was heroic and put his team on his back for Wyoming. And yeah, he's 6'5" and can run around, but this guy has a lot of balls and plays with it. And analytics can't read that. And that's the problem with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert plays quarterback like a robot spread. You have to have some emotion involved. You have to rally your guys. You know, you have to be into it, man. And most of all, you got to get it done. Like, it's only so long you guys are going to be able to go with these excuses. The guy points out the PFF mess. And I show him, brother, Here's a direct video from NFL Films that shows D'Amico Ryans telling Al Shahir before the play what they're gonna do, and then them executing it on the very next series, and just like they expected, Justin Herbert throwing it right to Eric Murray for a pick six because he doesn't read defense as well, man. He does not. He's just a guy that drops back. He has a big, powerful arm. He's a 1-2 read guy. He doesn't get to his progressions well, and you can confuse him. 14 out of 32, one touchdown and 4 interceptions. I don't understand how anyone can make excuses for that and continue to.
All right. And I will go ahead and continue to make excuses for him. Number one, it's like what? His 5th year in the NFL, right? So everyone's going to point to that. But the reality of it is this is his first year getting quality NFL coaching. So this guy comes in and first he has Anthony Lynn. There's a reason Anthony Lynn has not been hired again. Then he gets Brandon
because
Staley.
he's black. Anthony Lynn is a good coach, man. Stop it, bro. Stop it.
I don't.
Stop
I mean,
right there. It's the reason he hasn't been hired, spread, because there's not a lot of positions available in the NFL, and he's going to always get the second look. He's not going to get the first look out the young, hot shot, little coordinator white guy ever. Like, we keep it real on the waging world. So we know that these people in positions that are hiring are either hiring people they know, people they're familiar with, or people that look like them. Like, come on now. We ain't going to say that about Anthony Lynn. He coached his ass off those Chargers. He did a great job over there, and he deserves another chance. So don't try to knock him because that dude is ass. Stop it. Let's move off Anthony Lynn and let's go to the facts. This dude sucks. 14-32 in a win or go home game, and you're going to go back to Anthony Lynn and blame him? Come on.
No,
Spread.
hold on. Hold on. I'm just saying. So he was in a tough situation to start. Then he gets Brandon Staley. He's not getting a job again anytime soon, right? So bad coaching there.
Decision making with Brandon Staley about going for it so much. He was a good coach, though. Brandon Staley can call X and O's on defense. He's a good coach.
Okay. But not a good head coach and not a great situation for Herbert. Now he finally gets a real coach. So they go from what? A 5-win team to an 11-win team. Not much difference on the roster, right? Then let's look at what Harbaugh tried to do. He didn't worry about his skill position players. Other than Pittsburgh, I would say that he had the worst skill position group of anyone in the league that's in the playoffs, right? Obviously, there's some terrible teams.
But no, they had the Texans had a worse skill position this game besides.
No way.
At receivers, yes.
Quentin Johnson's like a number 7 on any other team.
No, I agree with that, but Ladd McConkey isn't.
Nico Collins is way better than Ladd McConkey.
Slot, bro. Ladd McConkey would be our second best receiver on our team right now.
Right now, but that's not what they went in the season with. They went in with Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. It's just bad injuries.
The game when all of those guys are on IR. They're not there. And still, C.J. Stroud went 22 or 33 for 282 for his second playoff win. With a franchise that was complete ass, had went through Deshaun Watson problems, were a laughing stock for the league, were looked at as losers. That's why people still look at them as losers and don't respect them now. But what did C.J. Stroud do when he came over there? He won. He still was able to show up when it mattered in the playoffs and get it done, bro. Like, it's no excuses. You guys can continue to make all these excuses for this guy. And it makes it where it's hard on him because Justin Herbert is a stand-up good dude. He said on his interview that it was my fault. The coaches did everything they're supposed. He's been saying that for 5 years. He's understanding he's not raising his levels up in these playoff games. It's the media and all these guys that are so in love with him being 6'4" and having a gun and that he can run a 4.6 that don't want to deal with the fact that he is not a clutch quarterback, man. He doesn't play well in big games. And until he does, I don't.
But people can say that. But okay, and that's true. That's happened so far, right? But that's not because it hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean that it can't happen for the rest of his career. For example, we could have said that about Lamar Jackson, right? But are you going to give up on Lamar Jackson? No, because as he's continued to raise his game.
Lamar Jackson was an MVP of the league his second year in the league.
But he also had terrible playoff performances. But we didn't
He
give up
had
on him
nothing
then.
around him, but he still won a playoff game. He's won several playoff games. I forgot his exact record. My point is this. Justin Herbert was set up perfectly in this game to get their first playoff win. They were
No,
on
and
fire.
that's why I really
The
want to go
offense
against
wasn't a
you.
problem the last 3 weeks. The last 3 weeks when they were averaging 34 points, it wasn't a problem.
All right, and here's what I want to get at, and this will be my final point, and then we can move on. It really feels like some NBA media that we're doing here when our takeaway from this game is that Justin Herbert sucks and not celebrating what DeMeco Ryans and the Houston Texans defense have done.
The
Houston Texans have one of the best,
bro. That's not going to happen, Fred. They're not getting respect. You know that's not going to happen.
Because look, if this was like a historic defense, right? Like a Steelers, something we can, Eagles, Ravens, right? We can. They've been good for so long. We're just like, that's a historic defense. That's a tough defense, right? And yeah, the Texans don't have that history, but this year's group is on that level with those elite defenses in the past. It's just because they're not wearing yellow and black and they don't have Tomlin on the sideline.
Well, we'll see this week when they play against Mahomes, because Mahomes and Herbert are in the same age group. That's my problem. Like, they're all in the same age group. Lamar, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Mahomes. And I don't like how, if this was Mahomes instead of Herbert and Mahomes was losing, everyone would be talking about like they did with Brady. Well, it's about the wins. Can you get it done? That's all we heard about McNabb. Nobody was changing the goalposts for McNabb and for Warren Moon and saying these guys can play their ass off. They're just being bad coach. Nobody was. This is all innate bias from the media, bro. Not you. You're a good dude. I know you ain't on that. But most of these dudes who are writing this stuff, they're just going to defend Justin Herbert to the end because they love him as a dude. He's one of they look at him like a son or a nephew, and they're going to write bias instead of telling the truth. Whereas when they looked at Warren Moon, McNabb, Michael Vick, and when they came up short, Vince Young, they gave them hell, bro. Like, everybody talked about they coming up short. Look how they do Lamar. Lamar's a 2-time MVP. Only thing we ever hear about is that he can't win the playoffs. Nobody's changing stuff for him and saying, but look at the numbers he did. Look how he lifted up Baltimore, and they were struggling. He revamped John Harbaugh's whole career. Nobody's going to say that. All they're going to worry about is wins and losses. But with Justin Herbert, none of that matters. He's the only quarterback in history where getting it done don't matter. And I'm tired of that. Because it's fraud, bro. It's based on bullshit. It's not based on the what we said is the goalpost forever. We're moving the goalpost for this guy because people like him. And it's about what's happening on the field. Don't treat other guys like that did. Don't judge other players in that manner. If you're going to judge Justin Herbert, then let's look at all the guys who never won championships and how great they were and how they got dogged by the media for not getting playoff wins. Look how they do Dak. Look how Dak gets done, bro. Dak's a way better quarterback than Justin Herbert. But all he does is get mashed in the media. I don't know if I think that. I know so. I know so because you know why I know?
On that. I like Herbert more.
Pardon? The numbers show us that, Fred. That's how I know that. You guys are going by what someone can do. I can be someone all day who can sit here and I can run a 4.240. But if I go to practice and I don't understand the schemes, I don't understand how to get it done, all that speed is for nothing. Justin Herbert has all of these tools and measurements. Yay. That shit don't mean nothing if you can't win.
Okay.
And we got to base it on that. Jay Daniels. Look how sucky Washington has been. They haven't won in 20 years. What did he just do?
Yeah, what did he do? No, I mean, I love the Jaden Daniels stories because as a Raiders fan, we're getting off track here. Let me just make my final 2 points on Herbert.
It's all about Justin Herbert, but
because we're going to praise Jaden Daniels. We got more to talk about.
Yeah, I love Justin Herbert. It's how y'all
I know, and it's fun for us to go back and forth because we agree a lot. So I'm sure people will be excited to see this. But here is my 2 final things. I'll admit what we've seen so far doesn't deserve to be praised. He's not in that elite tier, right? He's a tier below my top 4, right? Who I've said a bunch of times. Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow. That's my elite tier, right? He's not anywhere near there. But I'm just saying he's got a chance to get there. It's his first year with good coaching. And you know this following college. Is there a better year to pluck skill positions? Second, third, maybe even fourth round. One of the deepest running backs drafts we've had in years. There's a ton of good wide receivers. I think they're going to put a lot of weapons around him. It's going to be a second year under this system. And I would not be surprised if he takes another leap next year. So
how many weapons did Lamar have until this year? When he was winning those MVPs. How many weapons did Mahomes have?
I'm not saying he's in that tier. I'm not saying he's in that tier.
But no, but you're not. You're smart enough maybe to say that. But I think we've had this conversation on this show before about him not being elite, and I think you put him as an elite. He's not elite.
No.
Stop it.
Even when we did my rankings, I had Stafford ahead of him. And I did those in the middle of the year.
He has the measurables. He could be a Stafford. The difference between him and Stafford, boy, Stafford is a killer. And we know that he's out. Even when Detroit sucked, he's going to lay it on the line for his team. I'm not saying that Herbert won't. I know Herbert wants to win. The problem with Herbert is, man, when he gets in the game and it matters, the pressure gets to him, bro, and he can't see the field good. That's the thing. He loses all of his technique at the end of the game. Like even that pass to Lad McConkey that they're blowing up. Go watch it when he scored the 86-yard touchdown. Bro, that was a horrible throw. That's a horrible throw. It's like 3 defenders that touched the ball, and Lad McConkey just flies through there and snatches it. That's not a good decision with the ball. Now, I understand at this point of the game it's over, so you got to try to chunk it. But things like that is what troubled me about Justin Herbert. He did a good job of protecting the ball this year. He has the coach, as you said, in the Harbaugh. That's what was really disappointing to me by the meeting. Like I said, even if they would have lost the game, because I took the Texans to win, because I think the Texans were a better team than them. We already said that. We think the Texans are really underrated on the show. We remember how good the Texans are, and we also respect DeMeco Ryans' ability to call defensive plays. So we rank the Texans a lot higher than everybody else does on this show. But I did expect a better showing spread, like a really good, close, tight game. And it became a point where I remember me and my OG Webb were in the book, like the third quarter, he was telling me, man, I don't even sweat this game. It's over with. Herbert can't do anything against this defense. He was like, he can't do nothing against us. And
and that's my final point. I don't think the takeaway from this should be Justin Herbert sucks, Justin Herbert this and that. Because like I said, I still think he's in that second tier. I think the takeaway should have been this Texans defense. And so I know that Herbert struggled, right? Let's look at what some other quarterbacks did against the Houston Texans this year.
Good point.
Josh Allen was 9 of 30. 9 of 30 against the Houston Texans. Yeah. Jared Goff was 15 of 30 with 5 interceptions against
Mahomes
the
not going to play good. Mahomes not going to play good.
All right. Tua Tagovailoa, who I think is overpaid, but I still think is a quality quarterback, had 3 interceptions and got sacked 3 times against the Houston Texans. And 5
not to cut you off, spread, but you brought up Tua. That was a great. Did you know that just now they were speaking about what you take Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa? I know you would probably take Herbert, right?
I'll take Herbert, yeah.
Yeah, I probably would because of availability. I think he's a lot more sturdier and healthier than Tua. But as far as in quarterback, I think Tua's a better quarterback than him.
I think if you took out the concussions, it would be. It's just tough to have that guy that is just that close. But my final one, 5-star. I got to throw this in there because I know he's not a good quarterback. But this is what the Houston Texans did. Let's give them some credit.
Right?
Have you ever seen a player tap out, a quarterback just tap out during the game? The Houston Texans made a man tap out during the game. Never happened before in the history of the NFL. This is a good defense. This is what I think the story should be, and we're ready to move on. But let's
can we win? We'll talk about it on Friday. But if your point is as strong as you're making it about this Texas defense and that, and as you said, we've seen them beat quarterbacks. They have a meme of the Texas quarterback murder row with all the quarterbacks they taken out. They couldn't take out Mahomes though, but we were injured. We had a lot of injuries when we went to KC. We're fully stocked this time.
I still can't believe that line. That's another one I've been arguing about. So it was
yeah, I already
minus
bet.
three.
I already
It
bet.
was minus 3 on December 21st, and now it's minus 9.
Bro, do you know that Nick Wright
They've
is
changed
making
6 points. Tank Dell's worth 6 points. I mean, come on.
We're going to get the same exact great motion that we need as bettors who take points and like to bet underdogs that we got with that Chargers game, because all of the media is saying that the Texans are about to get smoked and they're feeding that to all of the squares.
Yeah.
Nick Wright is saying that the game will be over by halftime. I can't believe it, because I'm on the Texans first half. I'm on the Texans for the game, because this is a totally different defense than Patrick Mahomes faced last time. I would not be surprised if Mahomes put it out, because that's the difference between Mahomes and most. But Mahomes doesn't have the receivers. Now we got an older Hopkins now, and I don't know. I don't think Hopkins can do too much with Stingley if they or Lassiter, either one. You know, like the Texans don't even have to travel with Stingley, because Lassiter's the second highest rated PFF cornerback. A lot of people don't know that. So, as you said, the Texans are being overlooked, and we're going to take advantage of it on the wager. This is my boy Spread. We're good friends, man. We just have a nice little debate all the time about these quarterbacks, whether it's Brock Purdy or whether it's Herbert, man. Yep. On to the next.
All right, so we're going to keep it going. And this is another thing I've been arguing about all week, so I can't wait to get your take on this.
Okay.
The Ravens win 28-14. Game wasn't even really even that close. It didn't feel like the Ravens felt like they were in control from the opening kick. So Pittsburgh, the same disappointing season. A lot of people think Mike Tomlin should be fired. I'm on the other side. I think that you say, why would you get away with one of your strengths? Right? It's like when people say the Raiders should train Max Crosby. Well, why would we trade one of our bright spots? I don't understand why you would trade one of your strengths. And I had some issues with some other coaching, but it's so funny how he just seems to run the blame when the roster wasn't nearly as good. For example, if you switch the coaches, do you think the outcome is any different?
No.
I think if John Harbaugh was coaching the Steelers,
they wouldn't even make the playoffs.
So I mean, it's just wild to me. Some of these reactions about Mike Tomlin. He consistently gets his teams to overachieve, and we saw that. I mean, they simply didn't have the talent to keep up. The Ravens were better at almost every single position group. Where was the Steelers' advantage? Maybe defensive line with TJ Watt. Maybe. Anyways, what were your takeaways from the Ravens and the Steelers, and where do you fall on this Mike Tomlin debate?
I don't think that Mike Tomlin has the type of power in that building that he deserves at this point in his career. And I think it shows on the personnel. Like, no matter who's the GM, now they got a new guy, Omar Khan, but before he kept Big Ben there way too long because he was so tight with Big Ben. And, it's in Kevin Colbert. Yeah, Kevin Colbert. He replaced Kevin Colbert. Kevin Colbert was the guy who picked Kenny Pickens, because Tomlin wanted Malik Willis. Now, Malik Willis hasn't been, a guy that knocked it out the park, but we've seen some flashes with Green Bay with competent coaching, how he could play, because we know what type of athleticism that Malik plays with. He's just reining them in, which is kind of what they had to do with Big Ben, so the Steelers have shown their ability to do that. My homeboy, I always refer to my OG because that's one of the guys I really love talking ball with. They understand shop, the way that we do Spread. And he's been telling me all season long, he says, man, don't you see the Steelers have been trying to sabotage Tomlin from day one? And now it's starting to make a little sense to me. He's like, think about it, man. Who have they gotten for him on offense since Big Ben left? And I thought about it. And I was like, damn, nobody. He was like, what big free agents have they signed? They always draft, and they use the draft guys. They only believe in building up the defense, and they make Tomlin have to deal with their form of building the team. So pretty much Pittsburgh and Chicago Bears with championships in the 70s and one in the 90s, if you look at it. It's an old model, an older family, one of the original families from football. And the Rooneys are going to have to allow Mike Tomlin some say, bro, because we know that Mike Tomlin will not be trying that trash out there because he knows he's the only one that's going to have to deal with the repercussions of what happened on the field. So Let's see if they allow him to get more involved. A lot of people don't know Mike Tomlin was a wide receiver, a really good Division II wide receiver, William and Mary. He's an offensive coach too, and that's why the receivers developed so well under him at Pittsburgh. I know that he wants to get some more offense on that team. If the Rooneys don't want to allow him, I think it would be good for him to do an Andy Reid for real spread and just or Sean Payton. He needs to go get some fresh new look. Go to the Cowboys. Go coach the Cowboys. Mike
Yeah,
Tomlin, go
well, if
go
you're right
coach.
about Dak, they would be a
Yeah, go
legit
coach the
team.
Cowboys.
Um,
Dak could take a pay cut so that you guys can build around him. Dak know he hit a league. Dak was a 2-star recruit in high school, man. Like Dak knows he hit a league. So I think that Dak would restructure his deal. He's probably not gonna give all of it back, but he'll probably do some things that would help the team and be team friendly. Because he knows that he doesn't deserve to be the highest paid player in the league. It just happened that it was that time. That was the market at the time, and he was blessed to fall like all those NBA guys with all those big contracts that suck. So it was just a good time for him. But I'd like to see Mike Tomlin honestly go to another team and get a reboot, man. The Steelers aren't helping him at all, and they're ruining his brand. It's like they're working against him in the front office because there's no way in hell that he's choosing these guys that they're getting in there on the offensive side of the ball. As far as the Ravens, I think the Ravens can do it this year. I think that their big game is this week. I feel like if they beat the Bills, I think that they're going to be so hyped for Kansas City. I think they could blow out Kansas City because they've been waiting since game one when that happened with Likely's foot out. I think that Lamar is going to be so amped. I think that they're going to play their ass off if they play the Chiefs. This is their game. This is going to decide whether they go to the Super Bowl this week against Buffalo. But everything is set in place for them to do well. Their defense is turning the corner and playing like the old school Ravens that we saw. And if that offense stays the way it is, it's really hard to stop because you got a really motivated Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry knows this is his chance. He's 30 years old. Went to one AFC championship his whole career with the Titans, and he lost to Kansas City. He wants Kansas City too. So I think that the Ravens really have an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl this year. Really good team.
yeah, and one thing I want to point out, we'll talk about this, more if it happens, but during that Bills Chiefs game, that was the first game for the Ravens under a new defensive coordinator,
Yep.
right? Where the Chiefs have had that continuity. So
Yep.
we've seen two teams in Pennsylvania that really stand out, and we'll get to that game real soon. But both the Eagles and the Ravens, traditionally good defenses, off to a slow start. And you know what? I was critical of both those teams on this show, and I got to put this in my memory bank for next year. You can't judge these new defensive coordinators that fast.
Yep.
Because we've seen with Fangio, with the new defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, takes a little time to get going. All right, this next game, I'll be honest, 5-star. I don't got much to talk about. I was disappointed. Of course, it was my best bet. I thought the Broncos would be able to score more. 31-7 to me. The Buffalo Bills 31. That was expected. The 7 was what really surprised me. Did you think that was because of the Bills' defense? Because the Bills are going to need a good defense next week, or do you think that it was just the Broncos? Rookie quarterback, end of the Cinderella season against the fourth place schedule, and now they kind of returned to earth. What was your takeaway from the Bills and the Broncos?
This game snowballed on us, man. It was still within range. We both bet this one extremely heavy. This was my biggest play with the clients in the group, man. And we get the first half. We still the first half. Could have pushed on the money line that we tried a small amount on, but the stupid kicker misses the field goal. And we all have seen this over and over again. When that missed field goal happens in the game after a crucial drive, whether it's the first drive of the game or right before halftime, it affects the complete scope of the game. It changes all of the juice and the momentum. So now, even after that, Broncos come out. Buffalo has the ball first. They hold them to 3. So it's 13-7. Broncos go 3 and out. The defense is fighting, trying to keep us in cover area. And then we see one of the worst calls in the history of the NFL when they gave that touchdown to the running back Johnson, Ty Johnson. Josh Allen scrambling. It's 4th-and-1. He takes a really big risk by going to the end zone instead of just trying to get the first down. The guy's foot taps out of bounds while he's trying to secure the ball. the refs get a touchdown to Buffalo, and after that spread, I knew we were dead. That made 20-7. That's what gave them the juice. Now it's rocking. They're throwing snowballs. And Ralph, what's the name of the stadium now? I forgot it. Ralph, whatever. Ralph Wilson. They're throwing
Yeah, right
snowballs
now
in
it's
Ralph Wilson.
Highmark Stadium. They changed it.
Yeah,
It's in
they
Orchard
changed the
Park.
name, but it's always
Yeah.
Ralph Wilson to me. They're throwing snowballs in there, and they're going crazy. Bills Mafia is turned up because now it looks like Josh Allen has made one of those great plays that he makes. He stiffed armed a couple guys, ran around his 4th-1, throws a howitzer to the end zone. Great catch by Ty Johnson, but he's out of bounds and he's still trying to gather. It was a judgment call, and it really ticked me off that later they showed footage that right before they called that touchdown, that the referee had the nerve to go to the sidelines and apologize to Josh Allen about missing a PI. And I'm like, wait a second. Now I know they say Mahomes, the refs working with Mahomes, but this is getting outlandish. You're gonna leave the field and go to the sidelines to this guy and beg for his mercy? Like, come on. And do you know that that's the same referee? Do you remember early in the year spread when we were on the show and we were so upset talking about referees and how they have too much control and, think the game's about them? And that was the referee that Jamar Chase had made a catch. Guy was holding him the whole way. Jamar said, hey, man, he holding me. Cusses out Jamar. Jamar's like, man, who you talking to? Then gives him unsportsmanlike penalty. You remember that?
Yeah.
That's the same referee that was on the bench talking to Josh Allen. So, man, these referees are something else, but it kind of snowballed on us after that. Don't get me wrong. It seems like Buffalo would have probably covered anyway because after that, it kind of clicking. But we know how things work, man. It's a big change if he doesn't make that completion right there. And now the Broncos get the ball. They got momentum. They've got to stop. It's 13-7. Maybe we go get a field goal or something. And now we got game pressure on Josh Allen, kind of like the Texas game. Texas did not put enough game pressure on Will Howard. I feel like the Broncos did not put enough game pressure on Josh Allen. He will get game pressure this week from the Ravens, and we'll see how he responds. Overall, just a great season for the Broncos. They're one of the teams that's definitely pointing up with the arrows. We were able to cash over 25.5 yards, Bo Nix rushing yards, which is something that Spread put me on early in the year, and I've been riding it every game, and we've been doing really well with it, and he goes over again.
Yeah. Broncos, I think they have one more year eating some Russell Wilson dead cap, and then, this is going to be all systems go. So
they're going to be the ones that take out the Chiefs in that division. They'll be the first ones to win the AFC West outside of them. I don't think it will be the Chargers. I think it'll be Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton is a much better coach than Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is a good motivator, whereas I think that Sean Payton is just like, create a NFL coach, you got to pick Sean Payton, because he has the guys that he looked up to and listened to and who schooled him. It's not many more of them left. He was under Bill Parcells and that group of coaches.
So okay, Bill Parcells is where he got his head coaching, and then his offense.
Yeah, he doesn't coach anything like Bill Parcells.
So can you imagine those two styles? You've got Parcells and his hard ass, and then John Gruden, his charisma.
Exactly.
What a mix! What a mix!
He got an awesome mix with that. Those are his two guys. Parcells is the guy that gave him a chance when he was a young boy. Gruden is older than him and took him under his wing and showed him how to play calls and call banana wide rights. And now, they're both evil geniuses that stay up all night drawing plays. I hope Gruden gets another shot, man. I'd like to see Gruden at least get a chance to be an offensive coordinator for somebody. I think that the networks did him wrong because those were personal emails, and you know how I am, man. I don't judge anybody. I like people who are like with me. You see what you get. I'll say on here some of the crazy stuff, but if it's how I feel, it's how I feel. And I feel like when he was talking, he was upset, and that's what he felt about it. Move on. It's like he didn't hurt anybody. He didn't shoot anybody. He didn't commit a crime. He just, called a couple people some bad names that he didn't like how they were doing business with him. So let the man back in. John Gruden is a football junkie and an NFL icon, man.
Yeah, I actually enjoy his YouTube show a lot.
What? That's my favorite watch. That's one of my favorite watches, man.
There's no nonsense. It's just, this is the player, this is the strength, this is the weaknesses. This is the defense, this is the strengths, this is the weaknesses. This is what they need to do.
Are him and Greg Cosell. Those are two guys I never miss. I never miss John Gruden. I never miss Greg Cosell. because they are the same. Well, I like Warren Sharp a little bit too, but I don't watch him as much as I used to.
Yeah, I like the Belichick pod this year with Patricia and Lombardi as well. Let's move on to the Eagles, who get a 22-10 win over the Packers. There was a lot of contrasting takeaways from this game. I thought the Eagles played pretty well. I think some people criticized Jalen Hurts, but we talked about it last week. This was his first game back after a lengthy concussion. I was really surprised he was in concussion protocol that long. So I would expect him to play even better this week now that he got a game under his belt, get back on track. And I thought the story of the game, once again, was the Eagles defense. You know, I've had some fun making fun of Jordan Love and some of the mistakes he made. But if I defended Herbert, I'll have to do the same with Love. I want to give the credit to the Eagles defense and the job that Vic Fangio's done. I really want to back the Eagles next week. I am a little worried about the Nakobe Dean injury. He had really come along to be a versatile playmaker for that team. Originally he was a safety. They moved him to linebacker. He was really effective there. And I think that was because of his ability to play coverage as well. Really a versatile player. I'll be interested to see how they try to overcome that, of course, against a really well-coached Rams offense. But what were your takeaways when the Eagles defeated the Packers? Because, I know the Lions are waiting in the wings, but to me, I still would be surprised to see these Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Philadelphia is the new model for how you should run an NFL franchise. Like they know in this new world of expectations and of win at all costs, how to get it done. Whether it's getting off a coach earlier than they need to, whether it's getting off a coordinator after 1 year and going to find someone who can do the job. You know, Howie Roseman doesn't play, and I respect everything he does. He's the one key figure that doesn't change him, and of course the owner Jeffrey Lurie. Like those guys know how to run a football organization. So respect to the Eagles organization for how they do things. Even with Carson Wentz was supposed to be a superstar, had been to a Pro Bowl, everyone loved him. They said no, we like Jalen Hurts and what he's doing in the building, and got rid of him and took a chance on Hurts and got to the Super Bowl. The coordinators last year didn't do their job after the two great ones that they had got them to the Super Bowl. Now they got two great ones again. And that's why everything is clicking for him because, man, that defense is lights out, man. Vic Fangio is something else, boy. We forget how good he is, and he's reminding us very quickly with this defense. Philadelphia running game, you got dynamic receivers on the outside. Like, we don't even think about Devontae Smith. Like, he's one of the best receivers in the league. And he just plays his position professional, but he's always there for Hurts if he needs him. Just a really solid team. The other side of the ball, I'm very disappointed in the Packers because, I had high hopes for the Packers going into this year. I thought that they'd make it to the Super Bowl and take that next step. But what we saw with the Packers were how important you begin the year. They began the year with injuries, and they've ended the year with injuries. When Jordan Love got hurt in that end of that game in Rio, they have not been the same since. It kind of set up a black cloud over the season. Also, I think that Matt LaFleur is going to realize he's going to need some more receivers. I know those are his guys that he went handpicked and drafted out the draft, but they're going to have to do some free agent stuff. I think Devontae Adams is interested in coming back. I'd love to see him over there with Jordan Love. He knows how to run the offense. We know Matt LaFleur knows how to get it to him. At this point in Devontae's career, he still can play, but I think he's tired of being the butt of the jokes. He knows now, like, I went to New York, I got laughed at, went to the Raiders and sucked. He's always been a winning player because he was from that Packers organization. I would not be surprised if they bring him back as the receiver one. They should. They should because they need more guys at their receiver spot. Jaden Reed can be good, but he needs to be just a slot guy, like the third option. I'd move off Romeo Dobbs. He's been getting into it with the coach all year, and he doesn't come through in these games. Way too many drops from him, from Bo Melton, from Devontae Wicks. All they do is drop the ball, man. That's it. And these are drive killers. I keep the kid who keeps getting hurt because when he plays, he's a touchdown machine. But, man, can you keep him on the field? That's the thing. So, if I'm the Packers, I look to getting Jordan Love some real weapons that he can count on this year. And it starts with bringing back Devontae Adams. Moving forward in the playoffs, I like the Eagles, but I do think that Sean McVay will have a great game plan in line for them, and we'll talk about a little bit more on Friday, and we'll talk about the Rams
Yeah,
a little more.
I want to dig more into that game. I like the Eagles in that game, but I got to really try and dig up some research because I think they
One
did a
thing
good
that I
job with
like
that
about
line.
that spread, I want you to keep in mind the way that the defensive backs for the Eagles play. They're really aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that McVay has the type of receivers and the smarts to take advantage of that. But this might be the biggest Cooper Cup game of the season because we haven't seen
That's
him.
what I'm worried, man. I
We haven't
wonder if
seen
we've
him a
talked
lot. I'm
about this
telling you.
before, right? Remember when you were talking about it was his best friend and he thought he was seeing himself in the mirror and he wanted to get him on them
Yeah,
records. I
yeah,
mean, did he pull a Shanahan McCaffrey and maybe go to that well a little too often because Cup had a
yeah.
couple great games this year, but overall he hasn't been a game breaker. It feels to me like if you shut down Nakua, that offense isn't going to go. I
Sean
think going into the
McVay's a
year, I had them
mercenary.
kind of right on the same level. To me, Nakua is so much more effective right now.
I
But we'll
think
talk
I
about
think
that more. And
McVay's a
I could have my
mercenary
mind
spread.
changed on that. I'm not in love with that pick, but if you just gave me $100 and said better right now, I would lay it with the Eagles.
I think that real quick before we go to next, just a real quick about McVay before we move on. McVay is a mercenary, and he was raised in the business. I think his grandfather was the GM or something for Washington, right? And so
Yeah.
he's cold.
And
He's
Tampa
cold
Bay,
hearted.
too. Rich McKay was his name.
Yeah,
I think he was a
he's
49ers
cold
GM,
hearted.
too. I think he worked with Walsh.
Man, I don't know where he came from, but I know he's a cold-hearted assassin when it comes to personnel because he was in love with Jared Goff. Get your ass out of here. He was in love with Todd Gurley. Get your ass
Yep.
out of here. He was
Mm-hmm.
in love with Cam Akers. Get your ass out of here. And now he's kind of doing it with Cup. Like, you lost a step,
Yep.
bro. Pooping the cord. So, when it comes to business, he's going to give to who's performing.
He reminds me of those guys that they just love their cars. They just drive it, put 100,000 miles on it, drive it to the dirt, right? Just screw it up, and then they just, second they need repair, they just go buy a whole new car and just say,
I'll
hey,
get another car. I'll sell it to someone.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. What a great win. What a great story. How inspiring is it for me as a Raiders fan to see a hopeless franchise just get turned around simply by drafting one elite player and bringing in the right men to coach him. I mean, obviously that game could have gone either way. The Commanders were fortunate on certain levels. That Baker Mayfield fumble was really heartbreaking for that team. And maybe if he holds on, we're having a different story here. But regardless, the Commanders do get the win. My original idea for this game was that they would keep it close against Detroit. Now, the more I thought about it, I don't know if I love that play. But no matter what happens in Detroit next weekend, the Commanders are a great story in the NFL, and Jane Daniels is a player that I'm so excited to keep watching his career moves forward. What were your takeaways?
He's like a son to us on this show because we were talking about Jaden Daniels when no one was talking about him in America. If you go all the way back to the first season of the show, when Spread and I were talking draft, and he said, who do I like the most coming out? And I told him Jaden Daniels, and he hadn't even declared. He was still at Arizona State and had another year there before moving on to LSU. I just picked up something from this kid from Bakersfield, man, and he's lived up to the billing, man. He's done everything, and I think it's just a bright career, man, and he's with the right organization and franchise because we know that Washington has a real strong fan base, real strong team. Hopefully they go back to the Redskins next year because we're hearing that the tribes are all asking them to, and we can get back to the Hogs and everything that we remember from that great organization, man. So I'm hoping that happens. But Jaden Daniels hasn't punted in the playoffs. That's a great thing to say as a rookie. And they were saying some stat. He's already passed, I think they said John Elway and Joe Montana for having the most games without punting the ball, without having to punt. And those guys are Hall of Famers and played many, many more years than them. But that's just how good he is in this Cliff Kingsbury offense. What he does have to watch for moving forward is now that everyone knows what they run and what they're doing, that, the second year, just like with CJ, is going to be a little bit, they're going to have to add some more things to that offense and develop it a little more. But just never punting the ball is enough for me. And then the fact that he led the team in rushing yards, rushing attempts, and then threw for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 24-35, completely efficient. Just a great, great player, man. And he has a really good weapon outside in Terry McLaurin, who's really reinvigorated by having finally a quarterback after being there for several years with no one to get him the ball. And we're seeing he's such a big time player. Tampa Bay turned the ball over too much. Baker played good, 15-18, 185. Bucky Irvin, 17-77. I think that game is on Ty Bowles a little bit. And the reason why is I think because he's a defensive coach that he kind of made them go a little bit too conservative on offense. He probably told him he wanted to get the ball to Bucky Irvin, and their best thing they could have did against Washington was just go up and down the field throwing the ball like they did early in the year. Because Washington is, if you try to just pound them and beat them, you're not. Bobby Wagner is good, man. And we talked about this before the season even began, how I felt about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is so unheralded. Dan Quinn won the Super Bowl with Seattle as defense coordinator. Went to Atlanta, had them with the best record in the NFC. And they went to the Super Bowl and should have won and lost to Brady in the 28-3 game because Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to run the ball. Then goes to the Cowboys, revamps their defense. Cowboys make a deep playoff run, had the best record in the NFC. Like, all of these things are tied to Dan Quinn. And as you see with Washington, he doesn't even have really good players on defense yet. So the sky's the limit for them because they're so good. Now that they have Jaden Daniels and he's on that rookie contract, and it's going to be so many guys that just want to go play with him. Offensively, they'll be able to get some really good deals. And then on defense, I think that Dan Quinn is really good at drafting defense. They're going to draft defense, man. And this team is going to be really good. I think that they're going to be running that NFC East in a couple of years because, as we just talked about with the Eagles like to turn things over fast. And I think as soon as they see any decline going on with Sirianni, he's going to be gone. I think if they see any decline with Jalen Hurts, they're going to get off of him. That's just how they do things. They're not playing long term. They have a motto is about winning. And if we don't win, we scrap things and do it again, do it a different way. I think Washington is setting up for the most long-term success in the NFC East. So great job by Washington getting that win. I actually played Tampa Bay money line, so I lost on this game because
I did too.
Yeah, I didn't think that they were going to be able to beat Baker. Baker's been really good in the playoffs, but an unfortunate fumble. And also, we were talking about moving forward, like how that Texas game was. You have third and less than a yard. We understand Baker's 5'10", 190 pounds. So motion the tight end. Let Brake come and get the snap and let him quarterback sneak it like how smart Matt LaFleur is. He does with Taylor Kraft because he doesn't want Jordan Love to get hurt because his ankle's gimpy. Do that or either get a running back to come take the snap. Just do a quarterback sneak, man. They hand the ball off to Bucky Irvin. Washington gets penetration, blow them up in the backfield. They end up taking a field goal, and now instead of them going up 4 points and forcing Jaden Daniels to go get a touchdown, they tie the ball game up with a field goal. Jaden gets the ball, they never get it back. So, offensive coordinators, I know I tell you, kick the damn extra point. My new one is run the damn quarterback sneak.
All right, let's talk about, to me, what was the most disappointing game of the weekend. And let me tell you why I think that. Because the NFL is a quarterback league, and we need, we want good quarterbacks. It's no fun to tune into a game, right, and see Will Levis versus Derek Carr, right? I mean, I'm not trying to see that, right?
Right.
Sam Darnold looked like he was jumping into that echelon where we didn't put him in our top 5, but he was going to be a top 15 guy, a guy that you could win with, a guy that you could potentially make conference championship, even a Super Bowl with, right? And these last 2 weeks have pretty much shown us that, he's not there. Now, for the Vikings fans, things become easy because I think I think if he made the conference championship game or, if he played well, let's say they lost 27-26 and, it was like the Commanders game where, hey, maybe if they had the ball last, they could have won, right? You can make an argument, this was the team loss. This was a poor performance. And I think that also Kevin O'Connell's kind of, he's not getting blamed at all. But when you see your quarterback acting like that, can you dial up some run plays? Can you stop dropping him back 7 steps when he's just getting murdered? He's holding on to the ball too. Like, I thought O'Connell could have done some things too. Of course, we don't know the exact plays that were called, but I don't think he did him any favors. But long story short, Darnold's now kind of out as a real guy, and he'll probably be a placeholder like he kind of was for McCarthy. He'll probably be that for somebody else next year. So that's why that was the sad story. But at the end of the day, Matt Stafford, to me, I told my buddy, 5-star, I think he's the most underrated quarterback of this generation. I think if he didn't toil away in Detroit for 8 seasons or wherever he was there, flying under the radar, we consider him in that elite category that I mentioned earlier. So great win by the Rams and the Vikings. It seems like it's J.J. McCarthy season, and Darnold just is going to be a stopgap style guy. What did you see in that one, and where do you think Darnold ends up? I mean, I don't think he comes back to Minnesota now. Do you? I think they run it back with McCarthy and Daniel Jones.
And as he should not come back to Minnesota. You remember before this game, I saw after the Detroit game all I needed to see. I was like, oh, okay. Now it's real football time. He had been floating all year, people playing regular season football. But when it counted the most, as I told you, we saw the Prince turn to a pumpkin. And that's what I predicted for this game. And I knew that was going to happen because Sam Darnold, much like Justin Herbert, is a guy with all the tools, but he isn't a high IQ guy when it comes to reading defenses. You can trick him, So that's what happened these last 2 weeks. And as far as the Kevin O'Connell, that's bad narrative they're putting out there because a lot of guys do like Sam Darnold, and because he's a nice guy, and he was USC guy, LA, something about California quarterbacks. I guess it's the LA media covering it so much.
We support our own out here, 5-star.
Yeah,
we love our guys. I was even drafting Najee Harris all year in best ball. We support our guys out here.
But this is what they do, Spread. These guys don't deal with data. They just come up with an opinion and then they put it out as data and as facts, and then everyone else runs with it. Just like they just caught you up. People all are saying Kevin O'Connell didn't help him. He didn't run the ball. The Minnesota ran the ball 22 times for 106 yards. Guess how many times the Rams ran the ball? 22 times for 90 yards. So they both ran the ball the same amount of times. What happened is Sam Darnold played so damn bad, Kevin O'Connell was tired of his ass at the end of the game where he just wanted the game over. Did you see that? He didn't try to hurry up, nothing. He just was like, I just want this season over, and this guy's my starting quarterback over. I'm tired of having to cover him up. I'm tired of hiding him. I'm tired of pumping him, his head up and making him think he's something he's not. He's not going to get us there. Let's go on and get to the offseason so I can start working on our real Super Bowl team that I think I have a chance to, get it done with. Now the question for Minnesota is Jordan Jefferson. We know he's a really good team player because look how he lifted up Sam Darnold. He's been his biggest supporter all year. He's giving them no problems at all. They have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league. Really good defense, good defensive coordinator. I'm sure Flores comes back. I don't think anyone's going to hire him in the offseason. I'm not hearing his name ringing too much, so he'll probably be back over there with Kevin O'Connell because they seem
the only spot I think he could end up is Chicago.
Saints, right? Chicago, not the Saints. I think the Saints was talking about.
I think the Saints are going to get Aaron Glenn.
It's pretty much done.
That's what I'm reading. I don't have any sources.
That's what I'm hearing too. I'm hearing from back home. I'm hearing from my people back home. Aaron Glenn is pretty much the guy that the front that
I'm reading.
Yeah, Jameis Benson likes him a lot. So
everybody likes him. Have you seen his interviews?
Yeah, and him and his wife are really classy people.
I'm not fired up. I'll listen to his interview before I work out. The guy is an impressive character. I think that he's going to be really good in the NFL, and I think you'll be really lucky if you get him in New Orleans.
And the thing about Aaron Glenn, too, that's so good about him is, man, I really like when defensive backs become the head coach or defensive coordinator, because I think DBs kind of like how with offensive receivers and quarterbacks and linebackers and DBs, in my opinion, are really good defensive coordinators because they just were caught up in so much of the design, like so many stunts with the linebackers and different coverage things with the cornerbacks. He's a Houston guy, so He actually was working for the Texans for a little while at first as well, but he's straight out of Humble. He grew up right down the street from a lot of my family on the north side of Houston. My dad's side, a lot of them were in Humble forever, and they all know Aaron Glenn, and they good people. But anyway, getting back to this game, I do think at the end of the day that Minnesota is going to move on, and I think that they're going to do the right thing and go with another quarterback. But I do think that Kevin O'Connell did right by Sam Darnold as well by giving him a stage to show his talents, and now he'll probably be able to get a Tennessee Titans or maybe the Giants or someone. I could definitely see the Giants. He's the Giants type of quarterback. Their owner's probably salivating right now. Yeah, Darnold had a
I
horrible
still think
game.
that's where your guy ends up, but we'll see what Cleveland does. That's the deal
Oh
here.
God, don't send him to Cleveland. Stefanski's. But see, even the great coaches and quarterbacks just have hell trying to overcome bad franchises, man. And Cleveland
Yeah.
just one of those. And you saw now Deshaun Watson got what we already knew they were going to do. We talked about this a year ago on the show. They're going to use insurance to get out of that deal.
Yeah.
So
Because
now
he was quote unquote injured off the facility. So he gets an Achilles. I think they did this backdoor.
Bro, they've already
said,
worked all that shit
you
out
really
behind
hurt
the
yourself. Go say that you did it again.
Deshaun Watson will never play quarterback again in the NFL. Remember, I told you that. If he don't come back to Cleveland after the injury, which I don't think he will, we'll never see him again. He's gotten his check. He's gotten his payday. All we're about to see is he's going to become like a media personality guy. Like
I don't even think
doing
he
his
will.
own.
I think
no, not national media, doing his own podcast and stuff. His
like
own,
Kwame Brown.
Yeah, he's going to just do his own stuff. Yeah, and whoever deals with him and likes him, they'll watch it. The people that don't want, he's going to try to make money off that type of stuff, like just being a social media guy with his girl, because his girl, that's what she is, like a social media personality. He's got his payday. He knew he ruined his life. He's been exposed. There's no fixing his reputation. I think he disappears off the face of the earth real soon.
I would disappear if I were him too.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move into the present. That was fun talking some NFL with you. This is going to be your stage here on the first game we're going to talk about, because it's not the NBA, it's college hoops. In the NCAA, number 9 Kansas taking on number 2 Iowa State. This is how little I know about college basketball. Iowa State's number 2?
Yeah.
Iowa State?
Yeah.
I got to turn this on tonight. I got to see what's going on here, 5-star. What does Iowa State look like, and how are they ranked higher than Kansas? How do you see this game going?
They got TJ Otzelberger, who used to be UNLV's coach, and he brought UNLV's best player and took him out to Iowa State, and they rebuilt that thing. I don't think you don't remember when the mayor, Fred Hoiberg, had Iowa State humming a little bit too, and Otzelberger is from that Hoiberg tree. He's one of his guys. So, yeah, they like to play some defense, and, defense first, and they're going to shoot the three. That's what they do. And they're a really solid team, man. And as I said, a really, really big time player over there in Keyshawn Gilbert, man, at a point guard. They really have two, because Lipsy is good as well. He's kind of like a combo guard. I like Iowa State, man. A lot of people came back for their team. They shoot the ball really well, and they've been a really good home team. But, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with Kansas, you're dealing with Bill Self, man. And Bill Self, he runs the Big 12, big-time coach. Getting 6 points in a situation like this, Kansas is the more talented team, the more athletic team, can get up and down the court more. I got to try those points with Kansas on this one, man. At +6, I'm going to take Kansas Jayhawks. I think that they're going to have some problems dealing with Big Dickinson, who transferred from Michigan a couple years ago, and also going to have some problems dealing with that defense for Kansas. They like to steal the ball and get on the run. So give me +6 in Kansas, man, at Iowa State. Iowa State did win the last time that they faced each other, but before that, that matchup has been pretty much controlled by the Jayhawks. As I told you, the Jayhawks, man, they're just one of those teams that have the conference is theirs. And Bill Self, man, when I say he dominates that conference, man. They're 8-2 in the last 10 against them, 7-3. But as I said, Iowa State has won the last 2 games at home. They won the last one by 4 a year ago, and then a couple years ago they won by 15. So Otzelberger is building a really good team over there, man. But I think that that's too many points for a team as talented as Kansas. So Kansas +6 for me.
All right, you are on Kansas +6. Let's dive into the stuff that I do know, and that's the National Basketball Association. And you have to be excited, 5-star, as your team, the Houston Rockets, have become one of the success stories of the NBA. As a Kings fan, I'm so jealous because you guys did things right. You did the full turnover. You're building around young talent, and now you're here. And even if it's not your year this year, to win the NBA championship, you got to think that this core and the way that you've built this team, it's in sight. The Van Vliet contract's going to be over soon. You'll be moving off of that, and you're just going to have a bunch of young players, a bunch of cap space, and some draft picks to work around. Now they head to Denver. Now they head to the Denver Nuggets. And I think when we're looking at Nikola Jokic all time, one of the things we got to say is, hey, this guy's actually making his teammates better, because all I heard was that Russell Westbrook was this cancer, right? I mean, you talked to Ski, you talked to our guys, Top Wham, right? They hated Westbrook. They thought he was the reason that they lost. And, you can't win with him and this and that, right? Well, look, maybe you just need to put him around the right person in the right opportunity, because Westbrook is finally becoming a contributing player. And, obviously not that 2018 level where he's the MVP, but the Nuggets are winning, and not in spite of him. He's contributing well, and I think that you just matched him up with the right guy. The idea that you're going to put him around another ball-dominant star and that he's going to be effective, that was foolish on their part, right? But now you got a guy that loves to pass. I mean, he would ideally just get double-teamed to drop dimes all day. You see a lot of teams just singling Jokic now because there's really no point in sending the double. So two great teams take the floor tonight. Of course, they'll probably talk about trade rumors or Jimmy Butler to the Lakers or stuff on the pregame show. But how do you see Houston Rockets taking on the Denver Nuggets? The Nuggets did play last night. However, wasn't very close. They blew the Mavericks out. Rockets have a slight rest advantage. What are your thoughts?
Young Rockets got a lot of confidence, man. Memphis wanted that game so bad the other night. That was one of the best regular season games I've seen in the NBA in a while. And the Rockets was not having it. They were not trying to hear it. Ever since our man Thompson has moved into the starting lineup, and ever since they've taken the ball out of Van Fleet's hand and coaches told them to run that offense through Jalen Green, this new year in 2025, we've seen everything that we as Rocket fans were waiting on out this team. I think that we finally got our top duo. We already really have a big three because Sagoon's right there too. And the team is so deep and talented. And I just beg for our front office not to overreact. Don't do what this 2021 Suns did. We got everything we need. Just stay just like we are. If you're going to move anybody, just move the veteran, someone like Holiday, someone like Van Fleet, maybe Jock Landale, maybe Tate, because it's just not enough places for Tate to get a lot of PT, but he is a solid player. But that core 6 guys, 7 guys, even to Cam Whitmore, keep Cam Whitmore, man. He's going to come in handy later on, even if he just becomes our 6th man that comes off the bench and top of the second quarter is his time to shine, and he can score 20 points a game doing that. So just keep the squad together. Jabari is already filled in line. Jamar Smith is happy with just playing defense and rebounding. Hopefully he isn't traded, but he will be the one piece that I would be willing to let go of, just because I feel like what he does, it goes inherited, but it is replaceable with being a stretch, for playing defense and shooting the three. But overall, I couldn't be happier. As far as in Westbrook, so glad for Brody. It's good because Brody's a good dude, and he's always played with a lot of energy. He always come to show up every night. Him and Harden get talked about so bad, and these guys have been nothing but professionals. They're the only guys who you can go year after year. Availability, Harden and Westbrook are there to play every night. They never take nights off. So we got to start, showing some respect to these guys who've been around this league and putting in this work, like Westbrook, like Harden. They don't, everyone wants to, we talk about the goalpost stuff, about the titles, and people forget about all the stuff these guys have done for the game, both of them. And I'm just happy that Westbrook has a solid coach now over there with Mike Malone, who understands how to use him, and a coach that he respects, so he's going to do what he asks of him. So that works out really great. And as you said, Jokic already, him and Westbrook were already tight. So he the one that pushed for him to come over there. Seems like he's having a great time over there, and he's doing a good job with the young kids too. Just with teaching them how to be a professional along with Jokic, man. So great move by Denver going to get him as the energy guy to kind of replace KCP and what he was doing. He doesn't bring the 3-point shooting, but he does bring the hustle and the defense that KCP did and the transition game. I think the Rockets win this game. The Rockets have a lot of confidence going in this game. They're 4-1, excuse me, the last 5 against Denver. So they're used to playing them well, even when they weren't that good. 26-12, they're fighting to stay a top team in the West. And Udoka is just, I know he's so damn happy because he's seeing what he envisioned come to life. He never wanted my guy Harden over there at the point because he didn't want that type of team where it was flashy. He wants them to have a workman type of feel to the game with Jalen Green being that Kobe type of guy where he's great and has a special talent, but he works hard and plays hard. And he wants our man Thompson to be the face. He wants him to be kind of like how he was at San Antonio when he was the assistant coach, a Kawhi Leonard type of guy that puts defense first. Even though he's a hell of an offensive player and is the face of the team, he's a defensive guy. And he's establishing that. And I think that the culture that he's put in place with the Rockets, everyone in the league is starting to say, man, don't go in there playing with the Rockets. They're going to fight. And that's what he wanted. Like he wants a team that's looked at it as, hey, man, they not pushover. If you come to play, them kids ready to bang with you. They're ready to shoot with you. They're ready to fight with you. Whatever you want to do, they're coming to play. They're real competitors. And I like that. So we know Udoka's a great coach. He did upset me a little bit with how he's a star hater, but that comes from his background with San Antonio and being under Popovich. They're a different type of way that they approach the game. They want stars like Wemby. Wemby's very soft-spoken, another Tim Duncan. Like he ain't going to give you no problems. He's reading a book. He ain't trying to do anything. And that's how he likes Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson, much like Kawhi Leonard is. His game is like LeBron. I think that Amen Thompson's the closest thing we've seen to LeBron, where it's a guy that can dribble, has crazy athleticism, speed, can pass the ball. All he had to do is add the shooting, and that's coming. You can see it coming. He's going to be an all right shooter. So I think Amen Thompson about to be a perennial All-Pro, him and Jalen Green. I think they're going to be in the NBA All-Star game, probably start next year every year because they're that type of talent. And what I like about it is they're tight now. They were kind of warned at first when Amen first pulled up on trying to figure out who was going to be the lead dog. But now they figured out, like, Amen, even though you're off the ball now, you're still a point guard. Your job is still to create, play defense, and to try to get that ball to your shooters. And he does a really good job since you can correlate the success that Jalen Green has had in 2025 with the minutes that he plays with Amen Thompson. They play really well together, man. So everything's looking up for the Rockets. As far as tonight, I will be playing the Rockets just because I like young legs, against older teams on the second night off. I wouldn't be surprised if Rockets take off early if Malone just sits the vets and let them chill because Denver's playing for one thing and one thing only. They just trying to get in the dance, and that's when they're going to really, turn it on and try to play. Jamal Murray was getting healthy. He looked good last night against Dallas, so I know what they're thinking about. They think about it after the All-Star break. So this is more of a play with me with just the approach of the coaches. I don't think Mike Malone pushes too hard, and I think that the Rockets really want this with knowing that Denver is one of the top dogs in the league.
All right, 5 stars on the Houston Rockets, and of course that will be a fun game tonight. The Golden State Warriors are traveling to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. 5-star. I'm going to refresh my injury report right now.
Okay.
Because I know Golden State has not been consistent lately. Hold on, I got the wrong day up. So Golden State in this game is Steph Curry will be out there, Schrader will be out there, Wiggins, Draymond, maybe some Trey Jackson-Davis. So, okay, Draymond's a game-time decision. Kuminga and Pods are still out. On the Minnesota side, a healthy team. Timberwolves are laying 6.5. Do you think that's too much against this injured Warriors team who, like I said, could be missing Draymond and will definitely be missing Kuminga and Podziemski?
This was a no play for me because Golden State has a really good history against Minnesota, and Golden State got to be hungry after losing 2 straight. Is this the last game on the road for them? Is this the last game of the road trip?
Let me check their schedule real quick. Yes, this is the last game of the road trip tonight.
Yeah, so Golden State is really hungry for a win. Last game on their road trip. So far, they're 1-2, two straight losses. One in Indiana, one to lowly Toronto. Minnesota, on the other hand, they've been up and down, really inconsistent. Um, they go is Anthony Edwards go, and can they get enough help around him? What I do like for this game is for Anthony Edwards probably to go over his points. He's probably like at 26 or 27 like that. I think that he's going to come to play against Steph and those guys.
And
Just
yeah.
because it's other stars, I know Anthony Edwards is a really competitive guy. I'm sure this game will be on national TV tonight, probably on ESPN or somewhere with the two brands. So I just, whatever the over and under is, I think it's 24 and a half I'm seeing. So I just go over 24 and a half on Anthony Edwards. I think he can score that pretty easy, man. He should be able to get to that number against Golden State. So give me Anthony Edwards over 24 and a half on this game. No play on the side for me.
All right. The Miami Heat are taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers had 2 games postponed due to the tragic fires down in Los Angeles. They had their first game 2 nights ago against the San Antonio Spurs. Came out kind of flat, but we can't blame them for that. Obviously, a lot going on there. Now they take the floor again against the Miami Heat, who are, of course, embroiled in controversy because Jimmy Butler wants a trade. I actually think they want to trade him. I just don't think that there's a big market for him because he wants a 3-year extension. He's already slowing down, and he's also caused problems on the way out of every single team that he's ever played for. So unless, you're like Phoenix or someone where your window is right now, Butler doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of teams. So they're kind of at an impasse there, and I think that is affecting the team chemistry. Boy, 5-star, if you could hit this one on the opener. This one opened 3 on the legal books that I don't have access to. It was 4.5. I wrote it up last night for Bookmakers Review when I put it in around 10 p.m. our time. Now it's out to 6.5, and I think this line move is warranted. I love the play when it was less than 5. At 6.5, I still lean the Lakers here because of the way that Miami is. But I think they've effectively priced us out from having a good edge here. What are your thoughts here on everything that's going on in Miami? And how do you think the Lakers respond? Do you think we finally get a good performance from them? Or do you think it's going to take a little while for them to get back on track?
I think the Lakers show up tonight. Miami has to be tired. They've been on the West Coast now. This is their 6th game, probably the last game on their road trip.
It's the last game of their road trip, yeah.
Yeah, so and they're in LA. They've been in LA now a couple days without playing. We all know NBA players enjoy LA. So every NBA dude has a girl in LA, Houston, and Miami. Like you could just it's known. Like that's pretty much there. So I think the Miami's probably enjoying LA. Probably a lot of players went back to homes because a lot of players have homes in LA as well. So I think it's just a perfect formula right now for the Lakers to kind of get off the schneid a little bit. As you say, Jimmy Butler's not there. So Miami does not have their full squad. A lot of mess going on right there. And I'm sure that LeBron would love to smack the Heat and then afterwards let the reporters ask him a question about Jimmy so he could talk about his time dealing with Pat Riley and things like that. Miami's been really successful against the Lakers. They've won 3 straight against them, and they've won 7 out of their last 10 against them. So I think they'll have LeBron's attention, and J.J. Redick and those guys just need to win bad, man, and hopefully they'll carry the torch, no pun intended, for L.A. tonight and, get the win done. So the last 3, they've lost, embarrassing loss to San Antonio last game. So I definitely like the Lakers probably first half. The game is a pretty big number, but the Lakers should come out on fire, man. I think the Lakers want this one pretty bad. So I'll go with the Lakers first half and game on this one.
All right. Yeah, I like the Lakers in this game too. Let's move to the future, 5-star, because I want to know, if you were to bet right now, who would you pick to win the Super Bowl?
If I got to bet right now to win the Super Bowl, Ravens would be my favorite play at plus 470. That's what I'm seeing this season. It's probably 5-1 offshore. But the value play for me would be the Rams at 1,800 because I can see a path of the Rams getting to the Super Bowl, and then now you're in a great hedge position. Remember, when we're dealing with these futures, we're only trying to get us a good hedge spot, and I already got the Rams at a 15-1 to win the NFC right before the playoffs started. So that ticket is hot and alive. When I saw that the Packers were kind of falling off, I had to grab another future where I could try to get in a position ahead. So if the Rams could upset the Eagles, I'll be in a good situation overall. But as far as in value, Rams at 18-1. But as far as in my play and who I really believe could win the Super Bowl, Baltimore Ravens at plus 470.
All right. You like the Ravens. If I were to, so I don't have value on it, so I'm not betting it because I still like the Chiefs.
Okay.
Just the way that defense is run, the continuity, and now that this offense is coming along with Hollywood Brown back, DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup, the weapons aren't the same weaknesses, and they've had plenty of time to get healthy. And one thing I like about Kansas City is Andy Reid does have tough practices. So even though some teams, I think it would be a detriment to have this much time off, I think they're going to respond just fine. So no bet for me because we talked about we're looking for prices here. If I were to try and do a value price, I would probably look at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Detroit Lions are the rightful favorite there, so maybe get a little value there. However, boy, after watching that last game, I know they had a shot here, but I wonder, if we get a rematch of Chiefs-Eagles, if the Eagles will be able to get it done. So my long shot would be the Eagles, but no play for me right now because, unfortunately, I think the Chiefs win again. But let's give them some winners for tonight, Five Star. Who you got for our ball and parlay?
For tonight's ball and parlay, man, I'm going to do a 3-leg tennis parlay. The cash is at about minus 120. We're going to go with the young American, Alex Mickelson. He's playing James McCabe, who is an Australian, but Mickelson just beat Tsitsipas. I was on him on that one. This kid is a really good hard court player. A lot of variety to his game. He's got a chance to become one of the better American players. Right now, we know it's Taylor Fritz by a long shot, but I really like this kid, Mickelson. He's at minus 900, which is a hefty price, but I think that he gets this one done probably 3-0. So we'll throw him in there with Ons Jabeur. She's facing the Camila Osorio. Osorio is a really try-hard. She plays a bunch of junk ball, man, and she's going to make it where it's frustrating if you're not used to her style, but Jabeur has faced her 4 times. Osorio only won 1 set on it, and Jabeur's shown over the years to be a really good player in major. So we're going to go with Ons Jabeur at minus 240. And then finally, we're going to go with the little fire engine, Putintseva. Putintseva has been really good the last 2 years, man. She's been playing a lot better, and she faces a lady that she's dominated as well as Sui Zhang was able to pull the upset against American McCarthy Kessler, but I think that her magical run ends against Putintseva tonight. So we're going to go with a 3-leg for you guys. That's going to be Mickelson in the ATP times Ons Jabeur WTA times Putintseva WTA plays minus 120, but it's one that I'm really strong on. It's a well play for me. I'll be playing about 5 to 7 units on that one.
Oh, wow. All right. So you're going big there. Sorry, only 1 unit for me here as the NBA is difficult to navigate right now, but I did find an edge in the New York Knicks against the Philadelphia 76ers. Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks have a reputation of being this fearsome defense, but don't look now. They've kind of changed. This is an offensive-oriented team now, and they're not the same defensively that they used to be. We kind of talked about it earlier in the football, how, we kind of, Steelers, Ravens, we think defense, right? That's how we do with the Knicks as well. But that's not what we're seeing this year. This team gets up and down the floor. They like to score, and the pace is much higher. The 76ers, and of course, we don't know for sure, but most likely they'll be without Embiid. And when they are without Embiid, they are an over team as well. Give me the New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers over 219.5.
All right, well, you heard that from Spread. He's going over on the Knicks and the Sixers. And I got a 3-leg parlay for you. Ons Jabeur, Putintseva, along with Alex Mickelson. Man, it's that time. Friday is the day that we're going to break down the national championship that's coming on Monday and all the divisional playoffs. I can't wait to talk about it on Friday. Anything for the people before we get out of this Spread?
I'm looking forward to Friday too, and especially breaking down that elite matchup between the Bills and the Ravens.
All right, we appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Wagering World. Hopefully, we have Sino Royale back on Friday. Till then, man, I'm 5 Star Vegas. This is Spread of Stare. This is the Wagering World, and I dedicate this show, as always, to the greatest Houston sports fan that I know, and that's my father, John H. Lindsay. I'll see you guys on Friday.